Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're turning our attention very carefully, of course, to a truly iconic creature, instantly recognizable and, honestly, pretty terrifying, the Medusa.
Definitely iconic. And we've got some great source material you've shared. It really digs into the mechanics, the stat block, but also the lore descriptions that bring this classic monster to life.
Exactly. So our mission, as always, is to unpack all that, pull out the key insights, maybe some surprising details, and give you a shortcut to really understanding the Medusa beyond just, the basics.
Yeah, beyond the snake hair and the stony stare.
Which is where everyone goes first, right? Snake hair, petrifying gaze. And what's interesting in the material is how those two things are just baked right into everything, the lore, the mechanics, all of it.
Absolutely. The sources really start with the fundamentals. Classification. Medium monstrosity. So roughly human size, but definitely not human. And crucially, alignment. Lawful evil.
Okay, medium monstrosity, that tracks. Lawful evil, though, that's immediately interesting, isn't it? It suggests there's like a method to their malice, not just chaos.
Right, some kind of structure or intention, maybe even a twisted code. It adds complexity right away.
So looking at the core combat stats in the material, armor class 15, what does that tell you? Is that tough?
Well, AC 15 isn't like pleat mail, obviously, but it suggests a decent natural toughness. Or maybe agility, something that makes them harder to hit than you might first think. It's respectable.
Okay.
And backing that up, they've got a pretty good chunk of hit points. The sources put it around 1 to 7. That's quite solid for a medium creature. They can definitely take some punishment.
So they're not glass cannons. They can stick around. Speed is listed as 30 feet, which is standard. What about their overall threat level?
The material pegs them at challenge rating 6, CR6. That's a significant challenge for a typical adventuring party. They're definitely not low-level monsters.
Right.
You need to be ready for them. It's 2,300 XP, which reflects that danger, and they have a proficiency bonus of +3. That affects their attacks, their save DCs, things like that.
Gotcha. So a serious encounter needing some thought. Okay, let's dive into the features. Everyone knows the physical stuff, the senses, snake hair, obviously, but the sources give them dark vision up to 150 feet.
Yeah, and that 150 feet is quite a long range for dark vision. It means total darkness is no problem for them. Makes perfect sense if they live in ruins or dark places, like the lore suggests. They don't need a torch to spot you.
And combined with that, passive perception is 14, which is, okay, it's decent, not superhuman, but with that dark vision range, they're likely to notice things.
Exactly. You'd need to be pretty stealthy to sneak up on one, especially in the dark.
Speaking of stealth, their skills are listed as Deception +5, Perception +4, which matches the passive, and Stealth +6. That +6 stealth is interesting for a medium creature, isn't it?
It is. It suggests they might be surprisingly quiet, or maybe just really good at using shadows and cover in those ruins they supposedly haunt.
And that deception skill, that links back to what the lore bits say about them sometimes traveling in disguise.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, if your hair is literally living snakes, you'd need to be good at deception to, walk into a town or something without causing mass panic.
Makes sense. And they speak common plus one other language, according to the sources. So not just a beast. They're intelligent.
Right. They can communicate, plan, maybe bargain or threaten. It adds another layer to that lawful evil thing. They can use words to scheme and control.
Okay, let's switch to offense. What can they actually do in a fight? The sources mention multi-attack first.
Yep, multi-attack is key. It means they get multiple hits in on their turn, and the material gives them options, which is interesting.
Options?
Yeah, they can choose. Either make 2 claw attacks and 1 snake hair attack, or they can make 3 poison ray attacks. So they've got choices depending on whether they're up close or at range.
Let's break those down. Claw attack first sounds basic.
It is pretty straightforward. The material says +6 to hit, deals slashing damage about 10 points on average, just a direct physical strike.
But the snake hair attack, that sounds nastier.
Oh, it is. Same +6 to hit. Does a little piercing damage from the bite, maybe 5 points. But then it adds a big load of poison damage on top. The sources list that as 14 points of poison on average.
Oof. So it's a bite and a venom injection in one hit.
Exactly. That iconic hair isn't just for looks. It's a serious weapon, combining physical and significant poison damage.
And then for range, they have the poison ray.
Right. A ranged spell attack +5 to hit this time. Deals poison damage about 11 points average, and it can reach out to 150 feet.
Wow. Same range as their dark vision.
Good point. So they can see you and shoot you from quite a distance in the dark.
So they're dangerous up close with claws and venomous hair, and dangerous from afar with poison rays. That versatility makes them tough to deal with tactically.
Definitely. You can't just stay back, and getting close has its own risks.
Okay, but all of that kind of pales next to the main event, right? The
Yeah.
petrifying gaze, their signature move. What struck you about how the sources lay out its mechanics?
The absolute biggest thing, the game changer, is that the petrifying gaze is listed as a bonus action.
A bonus action. Seriously.
Seriously, think about what that means. On its turn, the Medusa can use its gaze and still take its full multi-attack action. Claws and hair or poison rays. It doesn't have to pick one or the other.
Wow. So it can be trying to turn you to stone while actively attacking you?
Precisely. It's incredibly efficient and dangerous. And the sources say it recharges on a 5 or 6 roll on a d6 the start of its turn.
So a 1 in 3 chance each turn it'll be ready to go again. That's frequent.
Very frequent. It affects creatures in a 30-foot cone, and they need to make a Constitution saving throw. DC 13 according to the material.
Okay, DC 13 con save. How does the petrification actually work? Is it instant?
No, and this is another crucial detail from the sources. It's a 2-stage process. The first time you fail that saving throw, you don't turn to stone immediately. You become restrained.
Restrained, so stuck in place.
Yep. Speed drops to 0. You attack with disadvantage. Dex saves are harder, and attacks against you have advantage. You're basically pinned and vulnerable.
Okay, that's bad, but not stone yet.
Right. Then, if you're still restrained by the gaze at the end of your next turn, you have to make the save again, DC 13 con save. Again, if you fail this second time, that's when you become petrified, turned to stone.
Oh, man. That creates this horrible tension, doesn't it? Fail once, you're trapped, vulnerable, and you know you have one more turn to try and make the save, all while the Medusa is still attacking.
It's brutal, a real countdown. But here's where the sources include that classic, almost mythic weakness right in the rules. What if the Medusa sees its own reflection in that cone?
The mirror trick. Does it actually work according to these mechanics?
It absolutely does. The sources explicitly state if the Medusa sees its own reflection within the area of the cone, the Medusa itself has to make that DC 13 Constitution saving throw against its own gaze.
Huh. So the legend is real, mechanically speaking. Using a polished shield, or maybe even a puddle of water, you could force it to risk petrifying itself.
Exactly. It's a built-in vulnerability straight from the source material. It gives players a specific counterplay, something tactical to try beyond just avert your eyes. It's brilliant.
That is brilliant. It makes the encounter so much more interesting. Okay, so we've got the mechanics. Tough, versatile, that terrifying bonus action gaze with the reflection weakness. Let's shift to the lore, the lifestyle stuff in the sources. They call them snake-haired recluses with a petrifying gaze and describe them as hubristic.
Hubris, yeah. Immense pride, arrogance, maybe suggesting a fall related to that pride. It fits nicely with the lawful evil alignment too, doesn't it? A belief in their own superiority, driving their desire for control.
And their habitat, the sources say, is often sites of fallen glory. Old ruins, crumbling temples, lost cities.
Places that maybe mirror their own sense of faded grandeur or decay. It fits the vibe. They also sometimes dwell beyond civilization's edge or, as we mentioned, travel in disguise.
So you might find one lurking in some ancient forgotten ruin, maybe surrounded by the stone statues of its victims. Chills. Or worse, you might meet one pretending to be someone else.
Yeah, adds that layer of potential paranoia or betrayal. And the sources mention the impact they leave. Trails of petrified victims. It's like their calling card. A terrifying monument to their presence.
Grim. And they're not always loners, apparently. The sources mention social structures.
Right. Some dominate groups of, like, lesser monsters or even criminals, using fear, especially the fear of that gaze, to maintain control. Others recruit servants specifically immune to petrification. The sources mention gargoyles and gorgons as examples.
Ah, that makes perfect sense. Why risk accidentally stoning your minions? Get something like a gargoyle, which is already stone. Well, not really, but immune to petrification. Smart in a calculating evil way.
Exactly. It reinforces that lawful evil trait, organized control, using others strategically for their own ends. It paints this picture of an intelligent, prideful, dangerous creature seeking dominance.
It all fits together really well. But then the sources add this whole other dimension, their origins. It says Medusas are born or created through preternatural circumstances and gives examples in the Medusa Fates table.
Yeah, that Fates table is fascinating. It blows up the idea of a single origin story and gives, what, 6 different possibilities? Each one changes the potential backstory and motivation completely, adds so much potential.
Okay, let's run through them quickly. What are the fates listed in the sources?
Okay, roll a d6. 1. Born a Medusa, but doesn't know why, unaware of some ancestor's curse or situation. So it's hereditary, maybe, but the current Medusa just is this way.
Huh. Inherited monstrosity.
Okay, 2. 2. Created by a god, specifically tasked with guarding treasure or a secret. This one has a divine origin, a purpose. Maybe not inherently malicious, but bound by duty.
Interesting. 3.
3. A cultist who made a fiendish bargain. Got some rewards initially, but they faded, and this transformation was the price, or the final state. So ambition and dark pacts leading to this.
Choice and consequence. Okay, 4.
4. An explorer. Got transformed while defending some cursed ruin, and now feels compelled to keep defending it. Tragic origin, this one. A victim of the place they sought to explore.
Wow, yeah, 5.
5. A vain noble. Tried some magic to get eternal beauty, and it backfired horribly. Hubris again, but specifically vanity leading to this monstrous form.
Classic ironic punishment. And the last one, 6.
6. Victim of a bite from a magical serpent, or maybe even a reptilian god in disguise, but transformed by an external attack or deception by some powerful snake-like entity.
That variety it's really something. It completely reframes how you might think about encountering a Medusa, doesn't it? Are they a victim? A divinely appointed guardian? Someone who made a bad deal?
Exactly. It gives them potential depth, a narrative hook beyond just being a monster stat block. It allows for different flavors of that lawful evil alignment too. Is there law divine command? A fiendish contract, the compulsion of a curse, or just their own arrogant rules?
Yeah, it makes you wonder about the specific Medusa you might face. What's their story? How did they end up like this?
And could that story influence how you interact with them?
Maybe. So wrapping up this deep dive, based on the source material, Medusa, medium monstrosity, lawful evil, intelligent, structured malice. They're resilient, aware, with that long dark vision.
Offensively versatile, nasty melee with claws and that potent snake hair venom plus ranged poison rays, and they can often attack after using their signature move.
The petrifying gaze, a terrifying bonus action. Restrains first, petrifies second, that awful countdown, but with that crucial classic weakness built right in, the reflection.
And the lore paints them as hubristic, dwelling in ruins, leaving stone victims, sometimes dominating others or recruiting immune allies like gargoyles, fitting that controlled evil approach.
And finally, those Medusa fates. Origins ranging from birthright curses to divine tasks, failed bargains, tragic accidents, vanity, or serpentine attacks. A whole spectrum of possibilities.
Understanding all these details from the sources, the stats, the tactics, the lore, the potential origins, it gives you that much richer picture, that shortcut to really knowing this creature beyond the surface level.
Exactly. And that depth, especially the variety of origins the material presents, leaves us with a final thought for you. Given that a Medusa might be born cursed, or be a victim of fate, or acting on a god's orders, does knowing this potentially shift your perspective? Does it change how you see them, beyond just lawful evil monstrosity? Could a tragic origin maybe, just maybe, change how you'd approach one described in these sources?
Something to ponder, maybe, next time you think you see something moving among the statues.
Definitely something to think about. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.